The situation in Kazakhstan has sharply deteriorated. Time is short. To get the most accurate picture of the scale of this escalation and the possible outcome, there's a lot of things that we need to consider. But let's talk about a few things tonight, as the situation changes every hour. So what exactly happened there? Well, according to the main version, gas prices rose sharply twice, after which riots broke out, which soon engulfed the largest city of Almaty, which led to President Tokayev dismissing the government in panic, who called on the CSTO military bloc led by Russia to intervene to stabilize the situation. But of course, this basic version tells us very little about the situation, the real situation that led to such a powerful explosion of unrest in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is a country that occupies an exceptional geostrategic position, as it borders on two world powers, Russia and China. Kazakhstan is one of the former Soviet republics, which today borders three other Soviet republics in the south: Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. Kazakhstan has a huge territory. It's one of the largest landlocked countries in the world. In addition, it is the largest in area and the northernmost Muslim country in the world. Its population is relatively small though, compared to its size. Only 18.8 million people live on the seemingly endless expanses of Kazakhstan, which means that Kazakhstan is one of the most uninhabited states in the world. Less than 6 people per square kilometer. For example, in the much smaller southern neighbor of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, there's almost twice as many citizens, around 35 million. In the past, the territory of modern Kazakhstan was inhabited by nomadic tribes. In the same period, these lands were part of large empires. From the south, the ancient Persian kingdom expanded, and then Turkish nomads appeared in the region. Not only that, these lands also came under the rule of the Mongols, who created their own empire, headed by Genghis Khan. In the 16th century, a special group gradually emerged, the Kazakhs. In the 18th century, the Russians decided to invade Kazakhstan, and from the middle of the 19th century, all of its territory was controlled by the Russian Empire. After the Bolshevik Revolution, Kazakhstan became part of the Soviet Union. It officially became a socialist republic in 1936. But what's interesting is, Kazakhstan was the last republic to declare independence after the collapse of the USSR in 1991. The fact that Kazakhstan was the last republic to declare independence after the collapse of the Soviet Union tells us that Kazakhstan was never prepared for a future without the USSR. And that's exactly why it transformed into an authoritarian state where freedom of elections and free speech and others only existed just on paper. But on the other hand, another freedom formed, the freedom of the market. Of course, foreign companies were extremely interested in entering the Kazakhstani market, since from an energy point of view, it's one of the most important countries in the world. Today, Kazakhstan belongs to the dominant countries of Central Asia and provides about 60% of the GDP of the entire region, thanks to the large amount of oil and gas at its disposal. In addition, Kazakhstan has large reserves of minerals, and one of the most important of them is uranium. And uranium is extremely important today, as countries around the world are moving away from fossil fuels in favor of other forms of energy. In such a world, uranium will undoubtedly play an extremely important role. With such riches that Kazakhstan has, and with a relatively small population, it could become one of the richest, happiest and most promising countries in the world. The leaders of Kazakhstan could have had a great country, but they didn't, and it's not difficult to guess why. We have examples of many rich countries today where all the wealth is sucked out by an extremely wealthy elite, and people are kept on the edge of life and death. And now the leaders of Kazakhstan took from the people the very little they had, and everything, of course, exploded. As the former British ambassador and foreign policy observer George Galloway rightly noted, the sovereign fund of Kazakhstan is so huge that it could provide its citizens all without exception with completely free fuel and not even start talking about any preferential prices. Most of the residents of Kazakhstan use LPG vehicles, liquefied petroleum gas. Its prices are usually fixed. This was untouched by the free market. It's clear that because of gas prices, manufacturers couldn't make large profits and of course put pressure on authorities to remove restrictions. On the 1st of January this year, as a New Year's gift, the citizens of Kazakhstan received a double increase in prices for LPG, and many of them realized that this was the last straw in their patience. Until 2019, Kazakhstan only had one president, the extremely influential and strong Nursultan Nazarbayev. In 2019, the untouchable Nazarbayev handed power over to an elected loyalist, current President Tokayev. But Nazarbayev didn't go far. He retained the position of chairman of the Security Council of Kazakhstan. So being in the shadows, he continued to rule the country. Subsequently, by his order, the capital of Kazakhstan was renamed. Astana became Nur-Sultan. The question is, where is Nazarbayev, who's remained untouchable for so long? Is he in the United States or is he in an allied country? Tokayev, who's replaced the entire government, replaced Nazarbayev yesterday, officially taking his post as chairman of the Security Council. According to some sources, Nazarbayev has already fled the country, but the information has not been confirmed. What we are seeing in Kazakhstan is a selfish game by its leadership, a game between the US and Russia. These leaders of these ex-Soviet republics can't make their mind up. They want it all by sitting in the US camp one day as well as the Russian camp, but it's clearly not working. Kazakhstan today is very similar in political terms to Belarus, although the situation in Kazakhstan can and is much more explosive. Like Nazarbayev, Lukashenko has ruled and continues to rule in Belarus since the collapse of the Soviet Union. At some point, he began to get out of Russian influence and became closer to the United States, but immediately after that, he passed some stupid social measures that were cancelled. For example, housing benefits in Belarus, and then all of a sudden unrest started to begin, which by the way could be partly provoked by outside. But anyway, soon Lukashenko realized that he had to return, and he returned in panic under the wing of Russia. We see the same in the case of Kazakhstan. It's no secret that Nazarbayev, like Lukashenko, tried to get out of Russian influence. Nobody on the territory of post-Soviet Central Asia dared to do this, and the facts do speak for themselves, because in Kazakhstan, it's the American transnational company Chevron that is today the largest private oil producer in Kazakhstan. This is a business worth tens of billions of US dollars. The crisis in Kazakhstan has already grown into a regional one. I thought this as soon as it was decided that the Collective Security Treaty Organization forces, the CSTO, headed by Russia, was sent to Kazakhstan. The situation is a serious challenge for Russia because the escalations of tensions have happened against the background of the conflict over Ukraine. Maybe this event was a coincidence. I can't be sure. Nobody can, but such unrest could very easily lead to regime change, which I'm sure the United States is interested in. But can Kazakhstan turn into a Syria? I don't think so. Kazakhstan is a predominantly Muslim country, about 72% of its population or so, but Kazakhstan's Muslim population is partly secular and partly spiritual, not many Wahhabis living there. But this doesn't mean that radicalization is impossible on the territory of Kazakhstan. I also doubt it would turn into a Syria, as Russia and China would not let it happen. Kazakhstani President Tokayev claims that well-trained foreign terrorists are operating in the crowd of protesters. But such a statement was expected from him, since he needs to appeal to the CSTO with a request to save him and the country's ruling elite, or maybe the Chevron American oil fields. The current crisis has just begun. It's difficult to imagine that outside forces would not even try to take advantage of it. I'm pretty sure they will. I'm sure the Americans are rubbing their hands and thinking about their next move. After all, their enemy, Russia, which in the past few months has completely focused on the Ukrainian border, which the Americans aren't too happy about, can truly take advantage of the escalating situation in Kazakhstan. All this could also be the beginning of something bigger, the long-awaited spread of unrest across the territory of Central Asia, which has remained calm for many years.